Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Iqlima Az-Zahra Ciersya, and in this video I want to explain my answer for midterm exam of HRM lecture. The first question is, how many times do you attend the Zoom class of HRM? What do you attend? Why do you attend the Zoom meeting class of HRM? I have attended all the meetings for the HRM lecture, and the total is 7 meetings. The reasons why I joined the meeting is because it's my obligation to join the meeting to fulfill my attendance as a student, and I also know that HRM is one of the most important job to do as a manager. So that's the reason why I joined the meeting. The second question is, what topic have been discussed in the Zoom meeting of HRM lecture? And what have you got from discussing the topic of HRM? We have discussed 6 topics in total of 7 meetings. From all the meetings, I learned a lot about HRM, and from all the topic we have discussed, what I like the most is topic in chapter 3. In chapter 3, there are many discussions that I can relate as a woman. And during the discussion, I can learn a lot from my friend's point of view about sexual harassment that occurs in the world of work, and how we have to deal with it if it happens around us. From all the discussion in chapter 3, my favorite question is number 15 about individuals with disabilities. In here I learn a lot to not look down at people with disabilities with one eyes. And I also learned to be aware with them around us, that not everyone is perfect, and we should have facilitate people who have disabilities so that they also get the same job opportunities. The third question is, are you active in the discussion during the Zoom meeting class of HRM? And how many times have you answered the question given? Mention the question you have answered and what are your answer for the question. From all the meetings, I've answered 3 questions in total. The first question that I answered is question from chapter 2, number 7, about what do you know about human capital effectiveness measures. And my answer is, it is important to understand the current of organization and its desired status. This can help to develop human capital objectives and not only increase overall efficiency in managing people, but also lead them feeling more closely bound to the organization. The example is include retaining committed and hardworking employees, continuously developing their skills of the workforce, developing realistic induction program for the new employee, and recruiting only the best talent. In chapter 3, I answer question number 5 about what is bona fide occupational qualification. And my answer is, bona fide occupational qualification is where workplace discrimination based on age or sex is allowed. I think BFOQ is more about qualification or requirements more than discrimination. Some example of situation where age or sex can be BFOQ includes authenticity. It's legal for casting directors to insist that actors match the age or sex of the role they are playing. And customer privacy. Business can insist that employees who enter customer dressing room and restroom be one of the same age as customers who are currently using those facilities. And safety. Companies can impose a mandatory retirement age of employees in certain safety sensitive positions, such as airline pilots, if almost all workers above a certain age are unable to perform the job safely, and there is no reasonable way to identifying the few workers who are capable of performing the job safely. And for chapter 5, I answer question number 2, what is human resource planning and how do you plan your human resource in your company? And my answer is, human resource planning is the process of forecasting the future human resource requirements of the organization and determining as to how the existing human resource capacity of the organization can be utilized to fulfill these requirements. Therefore, it focuses on the basic economic concept the basic economic concept of demand and supply in context to the human resource capacity of the organization. It is the HRP process which help the management of the organization in the meeting in the future demand of human resource in the organization with the supply of the appropriate people in appropriate number at the appropriate time and place. Further, it is only after proper analysis of the HR requirements can be the process of recruitment and selection be initiated by the management. Also, HRP is essential in successfully achieving the strategies and objective of organization. In fact, with the element of strategies and long-term objective of the organization being widely associated with human resource planning these days. HR planning has now turned into strategic HR planning. There are four key steps to the HRP process. They include analyzing present labor supply, forecasting labor demand, balancing projected labor demand with supply, and supporting organizational goals. HRP is an important investment for any business as it allows companies to remain both productive and profitable. And the next question is, how have you video recorded the answer to the question for discussion? How many video recording have you done, and mention the topic of discussion you have recorded. I have already posted all the answers that we discussed in the meetings, and the total is 6 videos. The first video is about human research and organization. The second video is about strategic HRM and planning. The video for chapter 3 is about equal employee opportunity. The fourth video is about job analysis, and the video for chapter 5 is talking about HR planning and retention. And the last video, which is chapter 6, is about recruiting and labor markets. And the next question is, what is your impression of joining the HRM lecture online? Explain your answer and what advantage if you can you get from attending the HRM lecture online delivered by your lecturer. If I am being honest, of all the online learning that I have gone through, the course that I understand the most is the HRM course, because the method that Sir Adi used to always discuss question at every meeting makes students compete to each other to answer this question. Sir Adi also gives an assignment to record video after every meeting, and I think it's really helped me to understand the material better, because we have to review the question again to be described in a video. And the next question is, how do you recruiting using spatial technology means? The internet can be used to advertise job vacancies. Applications are often filled out using an online form. The next question is, how do you recruiting using spatial technology means? The internet can be used to advertise job vacancies. Applications are often filled out using an online form. A database can be used to store information on candidates applying for position within a company. Video conferencing on a PC or smartphone could be used to conduct interviews. Technology recruiting is often defined as IT or technical recruiting, which comprises searching, screening, and assessing candidates who fit specific technical roles. Technology recruiting involves finding equal technical talent from a searching pipeline to match the hiring manager's requirement. What are the advantages and the disadvantages of internet recruiting? Employers have found a number of advantages to using internet recruiting. A primary one is that many employers have saved money using individuals may view and employers more positively and obtain more useful information. Jobs literally post globally, so potential application is under geographic areas, and countries can view job opening post in the internet. It also improves the ability to target specific audience, including more diverse persons, through the use of categories, information, etc. The positive things associated with internet recruiting come with a number of disadvantages. Because of border exposure, internet recruiting often creates additional work for HR staff member and others internally. More online job postings must be sent, many more resumes must be reviewed. More emails, blogs, and Twitters need to be dealt with, and expensive specialized software may be needed to track the increased number of applicants resulting from the internet recruiting efforts. The next question is mention and explain external recruiting resources and what are the advantage and the disadvantage of external recruiting sources. External recruiting is part of effective HR staffing. There are media source, competitive recruiting source, employment agencies, labor unions, job fairs, and creative recruiting, and lastly, educational institution and recruiting. Media sources such as newspaper, magazine, television, radio, and billboards typically have been widely used in external recruiting. Some firms have sent direct mail using podcast lists of individuals in certain fields of industry. Internet usage has led to media source being available online, including postings, ads, video, webinars, and many other explained media services. In some cities and towns, newspapers ads are still very prominent. True, they may trigger job search to go to an internet source for more details. Competitive recruiting source, regardless of the method used, external recruiting involves some common advantage and disadvantage. What is sexual harassment? How does sexual harassment affect the performance in company? Sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual behavior that offensive, humiliating, or intimidating. It is a much broader term than sexual assault and refers to a wider variety of inappropriate sexual behavior because it includes sexual contact like unwanted touching, hugging, or kissing. When an employee has experienced an incident of sexual harassment, or worse, a steady campaign of harassment, their output will be affected and lead to reduced employee productivity. Research suggests that employees that observe harassment in the workplace were more likely to experience lower psychological and physical well-being. Another aspect of how sexual harassment affects the workplace is replacing those leaving staff members can prove equally problematic. The next question is, can sexual harassment happen at workplace? Why? How can sexual harassment happen at workplace? There is two types of sexual harassment. The first is quid pro quo. Quid pro quo means this for that. In this context, it involves express or implied demands for sexual favors in exchange for some benefits. Example, a promotion, pay increase, or to avoid some determined example, termination or demotion in the workplace. Quid pro quo harassment is perpetrated by someone who is in a position of power of authority over another, like manager or supervisor over a subordinate. A clear example of quid pro quo harassment would be a supervisor threatening to fire an employee if they don't want to have sex with the supervisor. And the second is hostile work environment. Hostile work environment harassment arises when speech or conduct is so serve and pervasive is that creates an intimidating or demanding environment or situation that negatively affect a person's job performance. Unlike quid pro quo harassment, this type of harassment can be perpetrated by anyone in the work environment, including a peer, supervisor, subordinate, vendor, customer, or contractor. Hostile work environment situations are not as easy to recognize, given that an individual comment or occurrence may not be served. Demeaning behavior might occur that is not based on sex, and there may be long period between offensive incidents. Example of conduct that might create a hostile work environment include inappropriate touching, sexual jokes or comments, repeated requests or for dates, and a work environment where offensive pictures are displayed. Sexual harassment in the workplace is an ongoing risk to the safety of the employees and the business. And the potential is the implication of sexual harassment in the workplace have a far-reaching impact on everything from the company's bottom line, so employees' morale and the reputation. And what is human resource planning? How do you plan your human resource? Human resource planning is the process of forecasting the future human resource requirements of the organization and determining as to how the existing human resource capacity of the organization can be utilized to fulfill these requirements. Therefore, it focuses on the basic economic concept of demand and supply in context to the human resource capacity of the organization. It is the HRP process which help the management of the organization in the meeting in the future demand of human resource in the organization with the supply of the appropriate people in appropriate number at the appropriate time and place. Further, it is only after proper analysis of the HR requirements can be the process of recruitment and selection be initiated by the management. Also, HRP is essential in successfully achieving the strategies and objective of organization. In fact, with the element of strategies and long-term objective of the organization being widely associated with human resource planning these days. HR planning has now turned into strategic HR planning. There are four key steps to the HRP process. They include analyzing present labor supply, forecasting labor demand, balancing projected labor demand with supply, and supporting organizational goals. HRP is an important investment for any business as it allows companies to remain both productive and profitable. The next question is, what are the efforts made to retain your best people? Explain your answer. One of the best ways to keep your company growing is to retain the core talent. Companies highly value employee retention because it costs time and money to replace employees, especially productive ones. Having talented employees leave the organization can also cause strain on existing employees that have to take on extra work with those roles can be filled. Given this, retaining top employees should be a priority. A tip for keeping your very best employees: the first is pay above average salaries. Second is allow employees to speak in their minds. And the third is show appreciation and respect. The fourth is encourage the input and feedback. And the fifth is don't micromanage. And the sixth is identify and invest in high performance. 7 is over the ability to grow. The last one is profit the flexibility. Next question is, what is a psychological contract? What does the psychological contract include? Concept that has been useful in discussing individuals' relationship with their employees, which refers to the unwritten expectation employees and employees have about the nature of their work relationship. The psychological contract can create either a positive or negative relationship between an employer and individual. It is based on trust and commitment that leads to meeting both the employers and employees' expectations and needs. Individual psychological contract allow the employee to see their value and role within the business. It includes informal arrangement, mutual belief, common ground, and perception between the two parties. The psychological contract is usually seen from the standpoint or feelings for the employees, although a full appreciation requires it to be understood from both sides. Simply, in an employment context, the psychological contract is the fairness or balance, typically as perceived by the employees between. First is how the employee is treated by the employer, and the second is what the employees put into the job. The next question is, how does strategic human resource planning work? Human resource planning ensures the best fit between employees and job while avoiding manpower shortage and surplus. Strategic HR planning predict the future HR needs to the organization after analyzing the organization's current human resource, the external labor markets, and the future HR environment that the organization will be operating in. There are four key steps to the HRP process. They include analyzing present labor supply, forecasting labor demand, balancing projected labor demand with supply, and supporting organizational goals. HRP is an important investment for any business as it allows companies to remain both productive and profitable. The next question is about reviewing a video. In the first question is, what are the three videos about? In the videos 1, it's talk about 3 recruitment methods you must know, and video 2 and 4, it's talk about the same material. It's about how to recruiting an employee for a small and unknown company. The video 3 is about video about sexual harassment in the workplace. And what do the speaker explain in the 4th video? Explain in details. In video 1, the speakers explain about 3 recruitment methods that we should know. First is the IQ, General Mental Ability Test. This speaker said that IQ is the best predictor of your academic success, learning abilities, and how successful you are in your work. Because IQ is not specially related to job knowledge, it can be used to hire for any positions such as IT, marketing, and any others. In video 2 and 4, talks about simple process that can be used for recruiting an employee no matter what type of or level of position they want that fill in the company. The first step is defining the role. Defining the role for the job and how it fits to the business and the company's future plan. Write a job description, clarify the purpose and responsibilities of the job, and also the job description template to help guide and remember their job. The next step is to build a profile of the ideal person to fill the role. There is a template and guidance available to help undertake the selection and interview process in a systematic way. The next step is attracting applicant. The company needs to find a suitable candidate, so think about ways and advertisement chart to wide range of good quality applicants and to get the best response at the least cost. Way to advertise is that the team have to consider the adverb itself and effective job advice, but about the position and the business. This is particularly important for small business because the company name may not be particularly well known. Keep answers short and to the point, and make sure it's non-discriminatory, and to avoid gender or culturally specific language. The next step is the recruiting process is selecting the right candidate. Draw up the selection criteria. It's a good idea to create a checklist. Use a checklist based on the essential or desirable skills and experience required. Use this to check if the candidates match up the job and person's specification. This may be discussed with the team to make sure there's no potential bias in the process of the selection and interview. When the team have the short list of suitable person, send them a letter inviting them to an interview. With the interview process, make sure to give every candidate the same opportunities to give their best and presentation to demonstrate their suitability. When the team find the desirable candidate, what happen next? Tell them what can be expect to hear from the company. When the decisions are already made, notify the successful candidate, but also remember to let the other candidates know that they would not finally having made the decision and selected the candidate. In video 3, it's talk about sexual harassment is significant problem in work environment. There are a lot of cases that happen in the work environment. Sexual harassment is illegal, affects everyone, and undermines trust and company reputation, harms morale, and damage productivity. To eliminate sexual harassment, the first thing to do is communicate to employees that harassment will not be tolerated. The second is provide sexual harassment training. Third is establish an effective complaint process. Fourth is company take immediate and appropriate action. And the next question is, what can you get from watching the 4 videos about? In video 1, I can know the step of recruitment because we should know that recruitment is really important. That's why this video helps me a lot. In video 2 and 4, what I got from this video, that there is a way to recruiting an employee for a small business. It doesn't have to complicate it in hiring an employees. We just need to make sure what we really need in the company, and to make sure to have a wide advertisement so it can catch a lot of people
for the small business. We can use social media platform to increasing the budgets. And in video 3, this video teach me that prevention is the best tool for sexual harassment. Workers and companies should be aware of sexual harassment so it don't happen in the workplace, and if it happen, employees need to be aware and brave to speak the fact up, and the company should take actions.
That's all my answer for midterm exam question. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.